Hello, my name is Sumuk Murthy, and this is my summer internship project with Allen AI and Pilot City. So, just a quick fill in Allen AI is a voice software company which basically provides a web app and button for you to incorporate into any of your projects to make them voice activated. And this can be customized to any degree which you want and be able to custom respond to users' questions based on what you think might crop up. So, as my summer project, I added voice activation to Battleship. So Battleship is a fun board game generally where users fire shots at each other on a grid. So personally, my JavaScript experience is limited, and I didn't think I'd be able to come up with a full JavaScript Battleship game in time. So for the base game itself, I took this one right here, Luis Camino's Battleship.js, which is an excellent version of Battleship that he was releasing on the MIT license, which allowed for me to take and modify it and incorporate it into my game. So, big shout out to Luis Camino, or is this Luis Camino? Can't really tell, but this guy and his game tremendously beneficial, and I use this as the base of my project. So I forked this repository, battleship.js, and created my own version, Augustus31 slash battleship.js. And in this GitHub repository, you can see all of the files, all the commits, everything here. And without further ado, let's just go straight into my game. So I have a link here that leads straight to my game. So I've already hosted my game on the web at my website, which is honorius.us. And here, I'll show you some features of my game. So for reference, this is the original game. This is the original game, Battleship.js. So as you can see, the first thing that you might notice is that my game has a background. So I made this background in Photoshop myself using sky and sea colors and combined with some military type things like a plane and a ship and a missile, which is not visible here, but yeah. So I think it makes the game look better. Second, I also made the restart button work. For some reason, the original this restart game button was dysfunctional, but I programmed that so it works now. As you can see, it resets the board and relocates the ships. Third thing, this now it stops being as obvious, but once you start playing the game, it's clear. So as you can see, there's a blue speech button on the bottom right of my game. So this is the Allen AI button, and this allows voice functionality. There's also this voice commands description box on the bottom in my game, which basically tells you what you can do with the Allen AI button. So the three things are you can shoot a tile. So you can shoot a tile by simply saying the coordinates of the tile. So if you want to shoot C2 on the opponent's grid, all you need to do is this. C2.
C2. Missed. Opponent shot F4 and hit.
As you can see, when I said C2, it immediately processed that, fired at C2, then the opponent fired back. Then LNAI read it out to me what exactly happened. I fired on C2 and I missed. The opponent fired on F4 and he hit. So that's the first thing you can do. Second, you can barrage shot. So if you don't want to go so slowly and shoot only one tile at a time, you can shoot multiple tiles at a time by firing it up to 5 squares in one go, by saying all of their grid positions one after the other. So, for example, D4, D5, D6. As you can see, I shot D4, D5, and D6. D4 sunk a ship, D5 hit water, and D6 sunk another ship. So both of his size 1 ships are now sunk. And the opponent then shot 3 tiles. It says right here. The opponent shot F3, F2, and F5. Okay, so in this one, the LNAI bot doesn't repeat what you said and doesn't say hit or missed because you're firing at a lot of tiles at once, and so is the opponent, and it'll take forever to read out all of that. So if you're going to use the barrage shots, then don't expect a readout. All the shots are listed here on the bottom, so just use this if you're confused. Finally, you can also airstrike. So if you want to shoot 5 tiles in an X-shaped pattern, you can call an airstrike on the central tile. So that sounds confusing, but this is exactly how it works. Airstrike H5. As you can see, that dropped an airstrike on h5, which means it shot the tile h5 and the four tiles around it in an X shape, and it ended up being four misses and one hit. Meanwhile, the opponent also hit five tiles, which you can look through here, or you can just kind of glance at the board and see what's hit and what's not. So, airstrike is a pretty cool functionality. It allows you to sweep out a whole area at once while being efficient and while not having to specify five tiles. Again, the callouts are not given here because that would be 10 callouts and that would be a pain. So those are the voice commands that you can use in my game. Um, in addition to this, I also added sound effects, so you might have already heard it. When shooting water, it makes this sound effect, the splashing sound. When hitting a ship, it'll make a boom sound effect. Let's see if I can find one. Like that. So it makes that boom sound effect when you hit a ship. And when you sink a ship, it makes a boom, boom, boom sound effect, like you've just completely destroyed something. So let's see if I can get that. There it is. So as for the color, it also matches up. So on your grid, your ships are dark blue. And on the opponent's grid, obviously, you don't have your ships. And then shots that miss are light blue, shots that hit are orange, and sunken ships are red. And this is the same as the original game. So the original game doesn't have sound effects, though. I added that myself. So there are 6 sound effects, I think. The 3 most obvious are the ones I just showed: the water shot, the hitting sound effect, and the sinking sound effect. But there's also a sound effect for the airstrike, which you can hear again if I airstrike. Airstrike H8. So it's the sound of a plane flying over something, basically. So that's the airstrike sound effect. There's also a sound effect for winning and a sound effect for losing, which I'm not going to show you right now because I have to win or lose the game. At this rate, I'll probably lose, but I won't go all the way. But know that there's a winning and losing sound effect as well. That was also not there in the original game. So that pretty much describes my work during the summer. I've expanded upon the original Battleship game. I've added many new features. I've added voice activation. I've added barrages and airstrikes. I've added sound effects. I've fixed the restart game button, and I've added a cool looking background, and basically made it look a whole lot nicer. And that was based on the advice of Chihnakovi. Yeah, she was my um, expert that reviewed my game and gave some advice in my pinup in Pilot City. So I used her advice to make this background, which was a nice touch. So yeah, that's pretty much the functionality of my game. If you want to download it yourself or make any edits, feel free. I'm also using the MIT license on my game, so you can adapt that as you will. I think my repository is here. It's augustus31/battleship.js. So feel free. Also feel free to play my game. I will be very happy if you do. So yeah, thank you.